Everyone said Clara was lucky. Lucky because Daniel looked perfect. Lucky because he spoke gently. Lucky because he wore designer suits and smelled like success. Lucky because he bought her flowers and held her waist in public like she was the center of his world. But luck is sometimes just a mask pretending to be a blessing. Clara didn't know that the wedding day, with its gold decorations, soft music and cheering friends, was the last day she would feel truly safe. Because the moment the last guest left, the moment the doors closed, the moment they were alone, Daniel's smile faded. The man who held her hands at the altar was not the man standing in their new house that night. He sat on the couch, loosened his tie, looked at her with a strange calmness and said, "Now you are mine. Don't forget that." Clara laughed softly, thinking it was a joke. But his eyes didn't blink. They didn't soften. They just watched her, like she was a possession he finally acquired. And that was how it began. Not with shouting, not with fights, not with drama, but with a single sentence. A sentence that quietly rearranged the rest of her life. Daniel was a man of rules. Rules he never mentioned before the wedding. Rule 1. Clara must always ask before going anywhere, even to see her own mother. Rule 2. Her phone must always be unlocked for transparency. Rule 3. Her salary must be sent to him because a husband manages the home. It wasn't the rules that scared her. It was how calmly he said them, how normal he made them sound, like he wasn't taking away her freedom, just rearranging it. First Clara tried to talk. "Daniel, this isn't how." He raised a finger. "Don't argue with me. It's disrespectful." Disrespectful. A simple word. But it was the beginning of her silence. The first thing Daniel did was disconnect her from her world. He didn't tell her to stop seeing friends. He simply created tension every time she dressed up to go out. "Who are you dressing for? Why do you need friends now that you have a husband? So you prefer outsiders to your own home?" Clara slowly stopped going out. Stopped replying chats. Stopped accepting invitations. Her friends thought she had become proud. Her family thought she was enjoying marriage so much that she forgot them. No one knew the truth. Isolation is not always loud. Sometimes it is just slow silence. Money in marriage is not always abuse. But for Clara it was a weapon. Daniel controlled every naira. If she needed sanitary pads, she had to ask. If she wanted to buy groceries, she had to justify every item. If she wanted to send her mother money, she needed permission. He told her, "A good wife doesn't spend without her husband's approval." A sentence that felt like a cage. One day she asked him gently, "Daniel, I worked for my salary. Why can't I manage it too?" His face changed. Not with anger, but with disappointment. Fake disappointment. "You see, this is the problem with women. You think money gives you power." And from that day, he reduced her monthly allowance. Not because she did anything wrong, but because control was his love language. Daniel had a different personality in public. He was charming, playful, respectful. He opened car doors for her. He smiled with her. He held her hand in public. People would say, "Clara is lucky. See how Daniel worships her." But inside the house, the man vanished. Clara lived with a stranger. A stranger who punished her with silence for days. A stranger who criticized everything she did. A stranger who accused her of flirting with waiters, drivers, even delivery men. Clara learned something important. Some men are heroes outside, but villains in their own homes. The first betrayal came quietly. A message popped on Daniel's phone when he was in the shower. Not Clara's intention to spy. The screen just lit up. "Good night, baby. Same time tomorrow." Clara froze. Her hands shook. The message wasn't even the worst part. It was the emoji beside it, a heart. When she confronted him, gently, carefully, choosing her words so she wouldn't upset him, Daniel laughed. "A man texting another woman is normal. Don't stress me." She asked, "Are you cheating?" He stepped close. Don't ever ask me that again. Clara realized that day that marriage can make you lonely even when someone sleeps beside you. Clara stopped telling her family the truth. Because any time she called her mother, the question came, "How is marriage?" And society trained her to answer, "It's fine." Women are taught to cover wounds with powder and smiles. To hide pain so no one thinks they failed. To pretend the marriage is strong even when it is sinking. So Clara hid everything. Not because she wanted to protect Daniel, but because she wanted to protect herself from judgment. Clara didn't fight Daniel. She fought herself. Fought her tears. Fought her fear. Fought her desire to leave a marriage society told her to endure. Fought her self-esteem that was disappearing day by day. Daniel never hit her. He didn't need to. Words were his weapon. Silence was his punishment. Control was his strategy. And every day, Clara's confidence washed away like chalk in the rain. Clara sat on the edge of the bed one night, staring at the wardrobe door. It was half open, and behind it, she knew a truth she hadn't faced. Inside that wardrobe were the clothes she entered this marriage with. Bright, colorful dresses she used to love wearing. Clothes that made her feel confident. Clothes Daniel called too revealing. She hadn't worn them in months. Slowly, she stood, walked to the wardrobe, slid her hand across the dresses, and whispered to herself, "What happened to me?" The silence answered. Marriage was supposed to make her feel safe. Instead, it made her feel like she was losing pieces of herself every day. When Daniel entered the room, he looked at her and said, "What are you doing?" Clara swallowed. "Daniel, I'm not happy." He dropped his keys on the table. "And whose fault is that?" She blinked. He continued, "Women are never satisfied. I give you a home, I give you a name, I give you stability, and still, you complain." Clara didn't speak, because somehow he made her feel guilty for hurting. At work, Clara hid her feelings with gentle smiles. But one person noticed, Mrs. Tola, her senior colleague. An older woman with soft eyes, strong posture, a voice that carried wisdom. One afternoon during lunch, Mrs. Tola sat beside Clara and said quietly, "You're shrinking." Clara froze. "What?" "You walk smaller. You talk smaller. And when your phone rings, you panic. That's not marriage. That's something else." Clara's eyes watered. She whispered, "Mrs. Tola, you don't understand." The older woman gave a sad smile. "My dear, I understand more than you think. You're not the first. You won't be the last. And you're not alone." Clara felt something she hadn't felt in months. Her pain wasn't invisible. Someone finally saw it. On Sunday, Clara and Daniel attended a family event. As usual, Daniel transformed into the perfect man. He held her waist. He smiled. He cracked jokes. He kissed her cheek for photos. He served her food so everyone would say, "Ah, Daniel is such a caring husband." But Clara did something unusual that day. Instead of smiling brightly, she watched him. Really watched him. She saw the way his sweetness switched on like a generator. She saw the rehearsed gestures. She saw the performance. He wasn't doing it for her. He was doing it for the audience. Clara realized something. Some men don't love their wives. They love the praise that comes from pretending to love their wives. That night, Clara stood in front of the mirror. Her reflection looked the same. But something felt missing. The spark in her eyes, the confidence in her shoulders, the joy in her smile. She whispered, "Where is Clara?" Her reflection didn't answer. Then Daniel walked in. He looked at her, scoffed, and said, "What are you admiring? You're lucky I married you. Other men wouldn't tolerate your attitude." Something inside her cracked. She didn't respond. She just kept staring at the mirror. And the mirror stared back at a woman who had been broken so quietly the world didn't notice. Clara tried to talk to Daniel again. Not to argue. Not to accuse. Just to express her heart. "Daniel, can we talk?" He didn't look up from his phone. "I'm tired. Please." It's important. He sighed, irritated. What is it now? Clara took a deep breath. I feel like you don't care about me anymore. Daniel laughed. You see, that's your problem. You take everything too personal. You're too emotional. I don't have time for drama. I'm not giving drama. I just. Clara, stop. If you want attention, go talk to your girlfriends. I'm not your emotional caretaker. She stepped back. His words felt like a door slamming in her face. But what hurt the most wasn't what he said. It was how natural it came to him. Clara spent the next few days revisiting old photos on her phone. Photos from before the marriage. Photos where her smile reached her eyes. Photos where she wore bright colors and bold lipstick. Photos where she looked like a girl full of dreams. She whispered, I miss her. Marriage didn't just change her lifestyle. Changed her identity. She stopped reading. Stopped painting. Stopped journaling. Stopped doing everything that made her feel alive. Clara realized, sometimes marriage kills without violence. It kills by slowly draining the color out of a woman's world. One evening, Daniel came home smelling of a perfume Clara didn't own. Floral scent. Wheat. Feminine. Her heart sank. She didn't ask him anything. She didn't cry. She didn't accuse him. She just stood quietly as he walked past her, humming, pretending everything was normal. She sat on the couch and folded her fingers tightly. Because silence sometimes protects what the tongue is too afraid to say. Later that night his phone vibrated. A message flashed. I miss you already. Today was unforgettable. Clara didn't touch the phone. She didn't go close. She simply closed her eyes and exhaled shakily. That was the night she learned a painful lesson. Infidelity hurts, but the lies that cover it hurt even more. Asterisk asterisk. Clara reached a point she never expected. A point where she no longer recognized her thoughts. Point where she questioned whether she deserved love. A point where she wondered if this was all her life would ever be. She sat on the floor that night, knees pulled to her chest, and whispered, I can't keep living like this. And for the first time, she meant it. The next morning, Clara woke up before Daniel. For the first time in months, she didn't feel fear. She felt clarity. She showered slowly, letting the warm water wash away every worry that had clung to her skin. She dressed with intention, wearing one of her bright-colored old dresses Daniel didn't like. She looked in the mirror. The woman staring back wasn't fully healed, but she was awake. She whispered, I deserve peace. Those 3 words changed everything. At work, Mrs. Tola approached Clara again. You're different today, she said softly. Clara nodded. I'm tired of pretending. Mrs. Tola placed a hand on her arm. Her eyes carried the weight of years of wisdom. My dear, marriage should not silence you. And it shouldn't erase you. You deserve joy, laughter, and partnership. Not fear and confusion. Clara exhaled shakily. I don't know what to do. Mrs. Tola squeezed her hand. You don't have to know everything today. You just need to know one thing: you matter. Once you believe that, the rest will follow. Something warm filled Clara's chest: hope. That evening, Daniel returned home earlier than usual. He looked tense. Clara stayed calm. Without accusing him, without raising her voice, she gently asked, Daniel, do you want this marriage? The question shocked him. What do you mean? You've been distant, hurtful, controlling, unfaithful. I'm simply asking. Do you still want this? Daniel's eyes shifted. He opened his mouth to lie, but for the first time he couldn't. Because the truth was simple. He didn't love her. He loved control. He loved admiration. He loved being seen as a perfect husband, even though he wasn't one. So he said the sentence that freed her. Maybe we rushed things. Clara nodded slowly. Then let's stop rushing and start healing. Separately. And that was the moment Daniel realized. He had lost the only woman who ever truly loved him. Not because she stopped loving, but because she finally remembered her worth. Clara packed her bags quietly the next morning. No drama. No shouting. No revenge. Just peace. Daniel stood at the door, stunned. "You're really leaving?" Clara paused. "Yes." He frowned. "People will talk." She smiled gently. "Let them. Silence almost destroyed me. But talking might save another woman." She walked past him, carrying not just her bags, but her freedom. Moving back into her mother's home felt strange at first. But with each passing day, Clara felt parts of herself returning. She started journaling again, reading again, laughing again. She reconnected with her friends. She took long walks. She found beauty in small things: sunlight on her face, fresh air, quiet evenings. Healing didn't happen overnight, but it happened, one step at a time. One weekend, Clara sat with her mother in the living room. Her mother held her hand and said gently, "My daughter, I'm proud of you. Many women stay until they have nothing left. But you chose yourself." Clara looked down. "I was scared." Her mother smiled. "Courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is moving even when you're afraid." Clara's eyes softened. For the first time in a long while, she believed she was brave. Months later, Daniel requested a meeting. He looked thinner, less confident, like a man who had finally met the consequences of his actions. He said quietly, "Clara, I'm sorry." She listened, not out of hope, but out of closure. He continued, "I thought controlling you made me strong, but it only showed how weak I was." Clara nodded. "Thank you for saying that." He swallowed. "Can we try again?" Clara smiled calmly. "No, Daniel. I've forgiven you, but I won't return to what broke me." Her words didn't come from anger. They came from healing. Daniel lowered his head, understanding at last that he lost not because Clara left, but because he never valued her when she stayed. Clara didn't rush into new love. She didn't force herself to move on quickly. Instead, she rebuilt herself. She joined a women's support group. She started therapy. She grew stronger mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And one day, she woke up with a peace she had never felt. No fear. No guilt. No shame. Just clarity. She whispered, "I'm proud of who I'm becoming." Years later, Clara became a counselor for young women. She spoke gently but firmly. "Your happiness is not a luxury. It is a human right. Marriage should not be a battlefield. Love should not feel like punishment. You are allowed to walk away from anything that dim your light." Her story became a testimony, a lifeline for women who felt trapped, a reminder that choosing yourself is not failure. It is victory. Clara stood on a balcony one evening, watching the sunset paint the sky orange. A quiet smile touched her lips. She wasn't the broken woman who once cried in silence. She wasn't the wife who lived in shadows. She wasn't the girl who lost herself to please someone else. She was Clara, whole, healed, reborn. She whispered to the wind, "My scars are no longer wounds. They are stories. And they made me stronger." The wind carried her words gently. And somewhere in the world, another woman heard her story and found the courage to rise too. A marriage that destroys you is not a marriage. It is a prison. Silence protects abusers, not victims. Speak up. Seek help. Leaving is not failing. Staying broken is. Love should build you, not shrink you. A woman's worth is not defined by marital status but by her peace, values, and happiness.
Kindly subscribe, like, and comment for more interesting stories.